येषां मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोतं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि। Namaste and welcome to Kaivalya Yoga Gurukulam or KYG for yet another class in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. I'm offering this class from the premises of yet another very beautiful temple, one of the oldest temples of Tamil Nadu. It is in a city of Kanchipuram and it is called the Kailasanathar Temple. More of this temple in yet another video. This class is a summary class and I'm doing it with a slight change. I'm going to be walking as I talk because in this temple they do not allow a tripod stand. Selfies are okay, I guess. So I want to respect that, and but I still wanted to do this in this premises, so that's why hopefully my walking and talking may not be too distracting. So far in the Yoga Sutras, we have covered 20 sutras. And I thought in the last 6 or 7 that we have covered, we need to summarize that before we take the next leap. Because we have covered certain very important topics here that will form a very, very strong foundation of our journey in not only in the Yoga Sutra learning, but in the spiritual path itself. So what are my take-home points from these classes? The 2 pillars or the 2 rivers, if you will, Abhyasa and Vairagya, loosely translated as practice and non-attachment. When it comes to Abhyasa, I always remind myself from the teachings of Patanjali that it is a matter of cultivation, that one has to cultivate the idea of practice, asevita, as he says in the sutra which we studied. So I like the word cultivation because that teaches me it's okay to make a couple of mistakes. It's okay to err in the path. It's okay to do a trial and error method, because cultivation is about that, right? Cultivating a garden or cultivating a paddy field, for example, it's never a mathematical process, if you will. It's an art. There are things which may be out of your control, but we have to learn to embrace those situations and say, how do I, in my present circumstance in life, with my culture, with my background, or wherever I am at this moment, how do I cultivate a practice? How do I define my practice? So my practice in India, for example, cannot be my practice in USA. Similarly, my practice cannot be your practice, right? So each of us needs to cultivate this. So I like the word cultivation, so I'm going to take that home. Cultivation has an implication of long time. Cultivation has an implication of dedication that's involved. All that we learned in that beautiful sutra of Patanjali. The other one is, I'm going to be changing my hand left to right because the selfie stick is pretty long and the camera at the end is a little heavy, so bear with me. Anyway, the other side you have Vairagya or detachment. And in detachment, what I take home is that idea of being mindful of Sri, the concept that we talked about, the femininity, the instinct or the impulse to nurture a desire to manifest into manifestation. So the question that somebody asked me, and that question I struggled with for a very long time in my own path, which I have learned now, and I'm going to share that secret with you. So what happens if I'm not supposed to nurture a desire? Then how do I live a life? Like how isn't self-realization, liberation also a desire? So how does one go about it? You know, it's nice to on the one side understand the concept and say, aha, now I got it. But then how do I practice it? My example, And I quote my example simply because I want to share this path with an element of authenticity and reality, rather than borrow an example from a book or somebody else's experience. So right now where I am in my journey in this path, with the formation of Kaivalya Yoga Gurukulam, or KYG, what would be my desire that is seeking manifestation? So there is a desire that someday I might have a school, a Gurukulam, an actual place with a beautiful place for meditation, for healing, where people can learn deeper aspects of yoga, come and live a yogic lifestyle, practice and so on. So I'll be lying to you if I don't have that desire. I do. I feel it's manifesting itself through me at some point. Now this three in me is tempted to embrace that desire, okay, and bring it into manifestation. But then that is against the principles of yoga as taught by Vyasa and Patanjali. So how do I do this? So what I do is I take this desire and I offer it to the universe. I don't own it. I say, you have planted this desire, so you manifest it for me. You nurture it. This is where, when we learned the, I know I'm digressing from Yoga Sutras, but bear with me, because these are things, this is how I relate and I practice. I want to share it so that you can form your own way of understanding and bringing it into practice. This is where the study of Sri Chakra or Devi that we talked about, the primal force of the universe, which actually brings about creation. She is the mother. She is the ultimate feminine energy, the Shakti principle. So I say, rather than this little Shakti within me trying to manifest something, you take it. I offer it back to the universe. I offer it back to Devi and I say, if this is meant to happen, you manifest it for me, you nurture it, you will have a far better way of bringing it into manifestation than me who will color it with my own little pros and cons. So what happens here? In Vairagya, there is an element of non-attachment because there is no ownership. I'm not owning this. I'm not owning this project. I'm not owning this particular journey, this particular video. I don't own it. I say, you make it happen if it's meant to happen. That gives me a sense of freedom and also a great sense of contentment that the universe knows how to make these things happen, and therefore let it manifest in that energy. So this three now that is manifesting this desire is not this three that is related to me. It is the ultimate three. It is the universal feminine Shakti that will bring it into manifestation, if not in this lifetime, next lifetime, whenever. That's not I don't own it. So when I think of that, I make peace with that idea that Vairagyam has its place, desires have their place. The manifestation of desires need not necessarily be our responsibility. We can put in all the efforts, but let that manifestation happen as per what we call the divine will or the universal will, if it's meant to happen. So that helps me practice detachment. So let me know how you practice detachment and whether you like this idea. I like the idea of offering a desire to the universe and let the universe manifest it in the right manner and at the right time. And it has been my experience that when that happens, the manifestation is far more beautiful, far more detailed, far more divine than I could have ever imagined. And therefore I trust the divine plan, the universal energy, more than anything else in the manifestation of any desire. So Vairagya and Abhyasa are the two things I take home, and from each of these, this is what one is cultivation and one is the Sri. They offer it to the primordial Sri, the universal Sri, to manifest the desires that get planted in my consciousness, and therefore I feel free. Then we learnt about two forms of samadhi, samprajñata samadhi, asamprajñata samadhi. what I take home from the Sampragnata Samadhi, or the trance where I'm in a state of cognizance. The I is very much there. I'm able to experience the state of trance. I like the Vitarka Samadhi and the Vichara Samadhi. Vitarka is where I could enter into a deep state of trance with physical objects, with physical practices, whether it is a ritual that I am doing, offering water or pouring water on a Shivalingam, or chanting a few mantras, or whether it is asanas on the mat. When I completely get involved in that practice and lose myself into that practice, then a state of Vitarka Samadhi comes into fruition. There is no doubt about it. I am sure you would have also experienced it. It comes and goes, and therefore with this cultivation and non-attachment, we can attain a level of expertise, if you will, in that path. So I like the Vitarka Samadhi because it makes sense, it is very real, and of course the experience is amazing. When we meditate on a form of a deity, a mantra, then the deity begins to manifest that form in our subconscious mind, in our conscious mind. Not only do we come across it in pictures and books and things like that, but it also begins to speak to us. We are able to establish a definite relationship with it at a different dimension, dreams being one of those dimensions for sure. And then you know that Vitarka Samadhi begins to happen, because then when you tune into that energy's mantra or chanting, then you get completely absorbed into that. That one-pointedness, the ekagrata begins to manifest. So Vitarka Samadhi is something I really like to practice. I enjoy doing it. And so it is with Vichara. Vichara is contemplative. Vichara is meditative. I take an idea and dive deep into that idea, and I try to completely lose myself into that idea, so that idea's inner meaning presents itself to me. I don't try to rationalize or think or read too much. I just let it sink into my subconscious, and then lo and behold, it comes. And therefore, that's why I always say this is just guided by the divine. I cannot take ownership of this, because I'm just a person who receives these and I pass it on. I believe it, I experience it all the time. And therefore, Vitarka Samadhi, Vichara Samadhi, I can relate to very well. And those are the things I can share with you. The Ananda Samadhi and the Asmita Samadhi that we talked about in the Sampragnata Samadhi, I know these are technical terms, but if you have listened to the classes and perhaps maybe taken notes, you would understand what I'm talking about. The Ananda Asmita are even more subtle. They go into much more personal realms of experiences, which I think only each of us should experience rather than talk about. The Asampragnata is one part which I've just left it as a concept. I left the universal three to manifest that and nurture that desire, if you will. It's not even a desire for me. It is the Asampragnata is a state beyond cognizance. What is that state where just the Purusha becomes one with himself? I've left it for it to manifest as and when, whichever birth, whichever dimension, whenever that happens. So I've left that to happen at its own pace. I'm not taking home anything particular from that, because as we learned from the Yoga Sutras, for that to manifest, one has to develop Param Vairagyam. Param Vairagyam is the highest form of Vairagya, where you detach yourself from the qualities, the three qualities, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Now, that comes with a great level of awareness, I believe, and I have not fully embraced that in my consciousness, to be honest. But I know the path is leading me there. And therefore, that again is a matter of very, very personal experience. And therefore, the less we talk about it, I think, the better. But then, nevertheless, we have to learn. So we read, we talk about the concept, we discuss the concept of Asampragnata Samadhi, what it can be. And then we let the universe manifest for us based on how diligently we are doing our practice and our vairagya, the abhyasa and vairagya. So there is no doubt that abhyasa and vairagya begins to really help in bringing that into manifestation. The last thing that I take home from the last few sutras that we studied, and I really love that, is the fact that Patanjali leaves us with a roadmap. He says that the enlightened ones, or the ones who have attained the near state of enlightenment, they take birth and they take off from where they left off. And what about the others? So he's set out a beautiful roadmap for the others, right? That we studied in the previous sutra. Shraddha, Virya, Smriti, Samadhi and Prajna. The roadmap is there for us. How beautiful is that? All we need to do is practice with faith, Shraddha, with vigor, with energy, enthusiasm, so Virya, and then the latent memories within us, including the highest memory that we have always been divine, all of that will slowly begin to manifest. So from the simple memories to, oh my gosh, I did this in the childhood, so I begin to remember. I did this last week, I begin to remember. That kind of simple memories, from that you start, and then you begin to remember what happened in your previous lifetimes, and then finally it opens to the one and only memory that we're all waiting for, is the memory that, wow, I've always been divine. I was, is, and forever will be divine. Those memories will come into us, and that journey from this little memory to the big memory is filled with miracles, if you will, filled with synchronicities, filled with divine experiences, because that memory will come when experiences open up, trigger those memories. So the greater the experiences, the more deeper the memories get triggered in us. And then comes Samadhi. Then that memory will automatically take us into that trance, and finally we attain Prajna, or wisdom. This is early in the morning, and therefore have these vegetable vendors with their little microphones and speakers going around, so I don't know if that's disturbing. So I just took a break and I walked away from the street. There's magic in these places, but one has to rise above a certain level of distraction and noise that could trap us. But once we rise above it, then it's beautiful. Anyway, so these are the take-home points for me when it comes to the 20 sutras that we have studied so far. The study of these Yoga Sutras, my dear friends, is, for the lack of any other word I'm going to say, it's a long journey. So please bear with me. And this is not something that we just say, all right, this sutra is over, what's next, and do it at a pace. I'm not being guided to do it that way. I'm being very clearly guided that I need to present these in different temples. And that itself comes with a great sense of challenge. And therefore, it's going to take a while. We have 195 sutras to cover. And in my own journey of actually the logistics of doing this, I have been, it's my very first time I'm attempting this, so it took much longer than I originally thought it would. Nevertheless, we will be taking a short break for 2 or 3 months, because I have to go back home to the US and once again gather some resources, time, whatever it is, and plan it better for the next trip. So this journey is going to be bound by a period of time. It could take a year, it could take 2 years for all the sutras to manifest. So please bear with me, stay with me on this journey. But whenever we get a break, such as what's coming up now, I think we need to revisit the sutras and begin to practice. I think the universe makes it so that we get a chance to review the sutras, meditate on them, contemplate on them, and begin to practice them. And then when we begin to practice to whatever extent we have understood now, As we go along, we get specific techniques to do so and so on. By Patanjali shares us with certain things, ideas that we can begin to enrich our practice as we go along. But we don't have to wait for that to happen. We don't have to wait to understand all 195 sutras to quote unquote begin our journey in the Yoga Sutras or in the path of yoga or spirituality. Let the path unfold itself to you, to me, as we continue this beautiful journey, this intense journey, for the lack of any other word, because the study is a serious study. However simple I try to make it, I cannot compromise on the depth that this beautiful study offers to us. And therefore stay with me on this path. I will be continuing this after a few weeks, after a few months, maybe 2 or 3 months, at least 3 months I would take to come back to this, to the Yoga Sutras, because I have to go back to the US and come back, and it's not cheap to travel. But nevertheless, we will do all of this, put it all together. I have no doubt that the Divine is guiding me in this path, guiding us all in this path to make this happen, so we can leave together, we can leave a rich, authentic legacy of the Yoga Sutras for future generations. Thank you all for being with me so far. Thank you for your delightful and very gracious comments and feedback on YouTube or via email and so on. Please continue. I need your blessings, your love and your support to make this happen. When I read an email or a comment that it has helped someone, there can be no other greater motivation that would spur me on in this path to continue to offer these sutras. I pause in this journey, but with a heart filled with gratitude to the great masters, to the teachers such as Patanjali, to the great teachers such as Vyasa, who brought it down in a manner that we can all relate and practice, who brought the concept of Brahma, Brahman, if you will, the concept of the infinite Purusha, in a manner that today I'm holding a camera and I'm talking into it, and you are listening, and the best thing is there seems to be some sense coming out of it. That manifestation, that orchestration is entirely because of the divine blessings of these great sages. Of this I have no doubt. I offer myself only as an instrument in this journey. So thank you all for this divine opportunity, and hopefully we will continue very soon, sooner than later, this path, this journey into the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. So until we meet again, stay blessed, stay inspired. Namaste.
Klim Kaivalya